You're listening to Eureka on Monocle Radio, brought to you by the team behind the Entrepreneurs, the show all about inspiring people, innovative companies, and fresh ideas in global business. I'm Tom Edwards. Pietro Collina is the co-founder of Whitebox Cocktails, an Edinburgh-based company making full-strength, single-serve classics like negronis, espresso martinis, and spicy margaritas. Launched in 2021 by a team of world-class bartenders, Whitebox has gone from a lockdown experiment to selling millions of cans and expanding from the UK into Canada, Europe, Asia, and the Middle East, with the United States next on the menu. So how do you capture the spirit of a bar-quality cocktail, one that can take 5 minutes to make, in just 5 seconds? Well, here's Pietro with more on how it all began.
Whitebox is a cocktail company. We've been making canned cocktails since 2021. It started as kind of a very small type of production. It actually came out of lockdown. When we were all in the third lockdown, I actually received a package in the mail because there was this incentive of send a negroni to your friend. It was a weird time lockdown, right? Where you had to have like drinks on Zoom with people and all that kind of stuff. So while everyone was at home, Ben, Josh, and Alex, who eventually became my partners, had this incentive in basically being like, oh, we're going to send negronis and kind of create this kind of moment for people to kind of reconnect. I got one sent in the mail, and it was just a plain white box, very generic, but with a sticker on it. And it had the Negroni character on this box. I opened up, it was just a plastic bag. Usually they called crowback bags in hospitality, where you kind of seal things up. Very simple. Poured myself a Negroni, and it was delicious, but I was very obsessed with this character. I've known one of the founders, Alex Lawrence, for a long time. I've been in hospitality for about 15, 20 years, specializing in a beverage side of everything. I ran the bar program for 11 Madison Park in New York City, as well as the Nomad hotels internationally. I moved to London to open up Nomad, and I quickly connected with Alex just because while I was going through the industry in New York, he was rising through the industry in London, running Lion Group and basically being kind of the creative director of Dandelion in the Mondrian. It used to be, now it's Sea Containers with Lioness, and he's still kind of part of that company. So him and I were very, very passionate about all things beverage, and every single time we'd meet up, we'd geek out. So the second I saw this package, I called him. And I was like, what's this all about? What's happening here? And he's like, oh yeah, he's a partner at this distillery called Porter's Gin. They were making gin up in Scotland with Ben and Josh. And they were like, this is just a way to create a moment with our product. And at that point in 2021, I was interested in canned cocktails for a while. I was probably looking into the category since about 2017 while I was in New York. You saw kind of the rise in that time of seltzers, things like White Claw and things of that nature. So I was looking in the category, I was really interested in it. In that moment, I was like, you know what? I want to have a discussion about, are you thinking about ever doing this in can? They're like, actually, we might be thinking about doing it. I was like, I wanted to talk to you guys about it because I'm super interested. And that's basically how it all started. Being a founder of a company and kind of going through that kind of entrepreneurial journey is very different. But funny enough, the life of the hospitality industry really grows you to start thinking big right from the beginning. I got into the hospitality industry while I was living here in London, and I started at this place called the Marks Club, which is a really well-known private members club in the kitchen. Super fascinated about cooking. Eventually went to the Culinary Institute of America, which is a kind of prestigious hospitality culinary school. And I thought my whole direction was going to be chef. I was going to be a chef, I was going to cook. But then I fell in love with wine. Studied wine for a long time, and then basically out of university, I went straight to 11 Madison Park. And then eventually I got really into beverage, being part of the bar team. And then we opened up the Nomad Hotel in a neighborhood that was kind of ignored for a long time, which eventually actually got coined the Nomad, which is north of Madison. So now the entire neighborhood is called Nomad after we opened the hotel. So it's quite an incredible story. A lot of people think as a server, you're just serving plates and food and drinks, but you're doing so many more steps. It's everything about sales, customer service, brand knowledge, and product knowledge. So you start learning a language about how to actually engage with people. Also, me being in the beverage side, there's so many people who want to sell you spirits all the time if you're running a prominent program. So I would sit every single week with people who would just have new products and be like, this is our new gin, this is our new tequila, this is our new Amaro. They'd pitch me every single week. So I understand the storytelling, I understand the brands, And specifically, as you mature into the industry and you become kind of a bar director, you start looking at more of the financing, start looking at partnerships. So I work with a lot of different brands, from big brands like Diageo, Pernod, Suntory, everything. And I understand their strategy every single year and how it develops. So it was interesting going into Whitebox from the beginning, because you have a lot of trepidation, because you're like, I'm an amateur, I have no idea what I'm doing. And then you slowly start talking to more people who've done it, and you're like, wait a second, this is exactly what I've been doing for many years. The cocktails itself are based off of bar quality cocktails. So if you see the differentiation of Whitebox to a lot of other products, our ABV is high. Our margarita is about 20%, 19-20%, and it's what you would expect from a bar experience. And you pour it into a glass with ice, you rim the glass, you garnish it. It becomes a kind of a ritual for a lot of people, and that's what we're trying to create. In the beginning, it was really the negroni. Negroni is a very simple recipe. It's a 3-ingredient cocktail. It's gin, sweet vermouth, and Campari. Obviously, if you're looking at doing a canned cocktail, one of the most difficult ingredients is Campari. We are a small brand. We're not going to go and start buying Campari and putting it in canned cocktails, because it's just not feasible in terms of financially feasible. So it was really about trying to create and try to find and source all the great products to create that flavor of Campari, to create that right flavor of sweet vermouth. And actually took a lot of research and development. There's rooms in Whitebox that it's just all bottles, and it's all different, concentrations, all different tinctures that we make in-house. And there's a lot of R&D process behind it. Fortunately, a lot of us come from a bar background and a tasting background. There's a lot of arguments, a lot of back and forth. And then, there's a lot of ideas like, this is the perfect cocktail. Okay, well, now how do we do 100,000 of these? The design is a big part of our brand. I think it really jumps off of the shelf. I think it really has a statement when it goes next to a lot of other canned cocktails. I love the designs of each of the cocktails. I think, a cocktail is really much a personality, and each of the designs gives that personality of the cocktails. But if you read every single type of business book, marketing book, spirits book, about branding, everything should look like it's in a range. When we were going into the market, everything had these are 5 different cocktails with different pastel colors. This. It has the same branding on everything, except instead of old-fashioned, it says mojito. Instead of something, it says something else. So right from the beginning, we were like, we don't want to do that. We want to be completely disruptive. We want to have this kind of more whimsical branding and personality. And that's basically what we decided to do. And the Negroni, to begin with, has the Negroni man on it. Really, really kind of fun, and it pops off of the shelf. But if you're looking in the beginning, when we were a nothing brand and we were starting looking for money and investment and things like that, every single person in the spirits industry worked for Diageo or giving us advice or working for different venture capitalists. They're like, why is everything different? Why doesn't it look the same? So we actually started looking at more, not only the design of the can, but really at how everything is placed on the can, the locations of it, how every can has an instruction of how to serve it perfectly on the can. And then looking at also the top of it and actually having that as the unison where it says Whitebox. So every single time you pick up a can, the first thing you see is Whitebox, and then you have the can itself, which is a completely different personality. Right now, the expectation is kind of outperforming everything we ever imagined, to be honest. It started very small. The first year, we basically had 200 independent retailers. We really focused on independent retailers right from the beginning, only in the UK, in Scotland and everything. The next year, we grew to 400. The following year, we got up to 1,000 different distribution points in the UK, started looking at different international markets as well in Europe. And I think last year we were so proud, we hit our 1 millionth cocktail sold. And it was a huge moment for us. And we were like, wow, this is really picking up. It's absolutely crazy. And then this year happened, and we're about to sell 2 to 3 million cans just this year. The dream, I think 5 years down the line, is that, we are in more markets. Right now we're in the UK, we're in Canada, we're in UAE, we're in China, we're in Norway, Ireland, France, Denmark. We get to collaborate with some really cool event companies. I think I would love to see Whitebox for different festivals, different moments like sporting events, different arenas. Our uniqueness is Whitebox. We get to create really cool specs and customize cocktails very quickly. And I think we can do a lot of really cool customization for like fun companies or like fun venues that kind of bring people together.
That was Pietro Collina, the co-founder of Whitebox Cocktails, and you can learn more by heading to whiteboxcocktails.com. And that's all for this episode of Eureka. We'll be back at the same time next week. The program's produced by Laura Kramer with audio editing by Jack Dewars. You can listen again and find out more at monocle.com or follow us and catch up with the archive wherever you get your audio. If you'd like to get in touch with the team, do feel free to email Laura on lrk@monocle.com. I'm Tom Edwards. Goodbye and thanks for listening to Eureka.